everyone. Do you remember me? I've been gone. But it's good to be home again. And Karen sends her regards. Poor thing, we flew back from Asia. And then she had 2 days at home and she got on another airplane. She's helping babysit her nephews in Phoenix right now. So, hello, dear. She said she might be tuning in depending on the time difference. So, we're glad to be back with you. And the timing is great. We get to start. I'm glad that I can sort of do the introduction in our lesson on Ezra and Nehemiah, a couple of my favorite books in the Bible and a very interesting time in biblical history. But with your permission, before we get into the lesson, sometimes you go to Sabbath school and they have what they call a mission report. Is it okay if I give you a brief mission report on where we were the last couple of weeks and tell you some exciting stories? We just threw this together the last few minutes, so I'm going to ask Rosa to go ahead and put some of the pictures on the screen here. And we're going to give you a little report on our trip to Asia. Now, what we did is we went to 3 countries. You can barely see them on the map there, but we went to Taiwan, which is technically part of China, but it really operates as an independent country. And we went to Singapore and Malaysia, not in that order. We went Taiwan, Malaysia, Singapore. You may not know Singapore is a country, even though it is an island. It's very small. Matter of fact, right there, it's one of the smallest countries in the world, along with the Vatican and Monaco. But I'll get to that in just a minute. So next picture. See, we got a very sophisticated way of advancing the slides. I just say, next picture. So first we went to Taiwan, and this was kind of neat for Karen because Karen worked in Taiwan doing some mission work and volunteer work about 30 years ago. So this is the first time she had a chance to go back. She volunteered at the hospital in the PT department many years ago. And I'm showing you there that building because when we travel and we do ministry, we preach and we teach, we also record amazing facts wherever we go. So one of the amazing facts we recorded was on this building. It's the Taipei 101, which for many years was the tallest building in the world. And we did an amazing fact about a man named Robert Alin who climbed it. Matter of fact, he climbed virtually all of the tallest skyscrapers in the world. He climbed the Empire State Building, the Burj Khalifa, the Eiffel Tower, the Sears Tower. I mean, it's amazing. And most of the time he did this with no ropes. He just did it freehand. So we did some amazing facts while we were there. Taiwan is a very interesting country, very clean. Karen said it's changed a lot. It's a lot cleaner than when she worked there. They've got an interesting habit in Taiwan. You'll never see garbage cans out on the street. People keep the garbage within the front doors of their home or their business. 5 days a week they have garbage pickup. In our town, once a week. 5 days a week. And early in the morning, you'll hear the garbage trucks all going out up the street, and they play music like our ice cream trucks used to do. And I think they're going, da 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 da, whatever it is. And that's your signal. You better run out with your garbage and you toss it in the can. They do this. There's no rats or cockroaches. It keeps a lot of the pests down. And so it was a very clean city. So we did some speaking there at what they call an ASI Pacific. It's the Asia Pacific ASI meeting. For those of you who don't know, ASI is like Adventist Service Incorporated. It's Adventist business people telling different ways they're sharing Christ in the marketplace. And so we had leaders of Christian businesses from around Asia all descended here in Taiwan, and I was able to share with them, and we heard wonderful stories of how the gospel is going out in many different countries around Asia during that time. So we were in Taiwan and very much enjoyed the food while we were there. They actually have quite a few veggie options in Asia because of both the Hindu and Buddhist influence. So if you're a vegetarian, you eat pretty good. So I enjoyed it while I was there. Let's go next slide. And we went from Taiwan to Malaysia, and this is the capital, Kuala Lumpur, and there's another building there. It's called the Petronas Towers, which again was the tallest building in the world for a while until it was surpassed by the Taipei building. And yes, Robert Alin climbed that building too. And so now Malaysia is very different. From Taiwan, there's a lot more freedom to preach the gospel. Even though it's technically Chinese, it's not governed by the communist China. It's really a republic. And so Christianity is pretty freely proclaimed there in Taiwan. But when you go to Malaysia, it's an Islamic country. It's about 32 million people in Malaysia. Interesting country, because southern Malaysia is the northern island of Borneo, and northern Malaysia is the southern tip of the Asian peninsula. So Malaysia is one country kind of spread on 2 or 3 different pieces of land and many, many thousands of islands. Part of the reason we went there, and let's go to the next picture, is because Amazing Facts, I'll just tell you this first and then I'll get to that. They took us there. We recorded an Amazing Facts of the Batu Caves. You can see there in this picture, there's a very large image. They've got this very large statue to the Hindu god Murugan. And so we did an amazing fact on Daniel 3, when Nebuchadnezzar made this big golden image. I mean, what else do you think about when you look at that? And but there's some caves up at the top, and you can look at the next picture. Well, you climb up those stairs, all these pilgrims go up and down the stairs, and there's massive caves up there. It's quite a job to get there. I forget how many hundreds of steps it is up there. But and so we did some stuff on Hinduism. We did some recording and facts on Hinduism. We did a recording, and you'll see these come out on our websites in the months to come. And but Malaysia is, there are a number of Hindus there, there's a number of Buddhists there, but it is like 75% Islamic. And our work in Malaysia must be done very carefully so as to not offend and get people into trouble. Next picture, please. Now, there we have, that's our team that was there. Of course, you got Karen and I, and on the fourth one there is Jared. He is a member here and works in the media department. He was with us doing some recording. In the middle, you have Aaron. Aaron runs our Amazing Facts Indonesia school. We have ongoing training that's happening. In fact, he sent me a picture this morning of a Bible camp they've got with 400 people that's going on right now. So Amazing Facts has an evangelism training school that operates in Indonesia. Indonesia is the largest Islamic country in the world, 280 million people. We've been there before in Jakarta, one of the busiest cities in the world. So Aaron is a businessman who does this on his own dollar, but he runs a school and he's converted a lot of our material into Bahasa Indonesian. And next picture, please. Oh, on the far right then, before we get there, is Prakrash. He is running our new Malaysian. Now we're launching an evangelism school in Malaysia, has 32 million people. The wonderful thing is that the languages between Indonesia and Malaysia are very similar. The people in Malaysia understand what they call Bahasa Indonesian. Next picture, please. And here we have in Malaysia our graduating class of amazing disciples. I like going to Asia because I'm tall in Asia. It gives me the illusion that I'm tall. And so we had about 25 students, young people, that graduated an Amazing Disciples program. They're learning how to share their faith in a largely Islamic country, and they must be very careful. You're not allowed in Malaysia to have a manger scene, for example. When we hand out our literature in Malaysia, you know how cigarette packs here have a warning that says this stuff can kill you? In Malaysia, we have to put a sticker on all our material that is a warning that it is Christian material, that it is not Islamic. And so it's very interesting doing the work there. We have had some pastors arrested and worse in the past. Next picture, please. While we were there, we also had some evangelistic presentations that were done in a Christian center. They've got a Christian center that is shared among several churches because they really restrict how many places Christians can meet in Islamic countries. And they won't let you put a church right on a main road. It's always sort of off the road, and several churches often have to share. Works for Adventists because we're needing it usually on Sabbath, and the other Sunday churches fight among themselves more about who gets it on Sunday. But so we had a good group there for Malaysians. So there probably have 30,000 Adventists in Malaysia. We were in Kuala Lumpur, where you've got the smaller number. Most of them are by the islands. Next picture, please. Here's an example of, for instance, our Amazing Facts magazine. This actually may be the cover for the Amazing Facts DVD on final events. And we also have the magazine. We have our lessons. All our Bible studies are all in Bahasa Indonesian, and they do very high quality Sometimes as we travel into other countries and we see they've translated our material, it's really sad because it's like very cheap newspaper. It's black and white. But our team in Indonesia is doing an excellent professional job in translating it. And so it's going not only all over Indonesia, but Malaysia as well. We just put one thing of their, one printing example up there for you. Next picture, please. And this is a picture I got this morning. It's going on as we speak. Aaron said this is our Bible camp that's happening now in Indonesia. I think it's near, well, there it is, Kupang, Indonesia. And this is a lot of people there. And this is an Islamic country, so it's just wonderful to see the work going forward. That may be the last. We have other pictures. Oh, no, yeah, we got Singapore coming. This is, well, that was still, there's Singapore. That was also our other meeting in Malaysia. Singapore is an interesting place. You don't hear a lot about mission work in Singapore because it's very hard to get missionaries to go to Singapore and pastors because it is one of the top 3 most expensive cities in the world to live in. Those 3 cities are Hong Kong, Paris, and Singapore. And Singapore may be number 2. It's very expensive. Singapore is an incredibly important international city. Of everything you buy, 1 out of 4 shipping containers in the world goes through the Singapore harbor. Because of where it's located in Asia strategically, it is the busiest harbor in the world. It is a very wealthy city. There are banks, the skyline is covered with bank buildings. There's an incredible amount of money. It's so expensive, a lot of missionaries just can't afford to live there. A lot of pastors, they don't want to go to Singapore because it's so expensive that they can, barely make ends meet. And so, but we have had a lot of people there who have been watching our programs either on satellite or on the internet. They got very good high-speed internet in Taiwan and in Singapore, not so much Malaysia. In Malaysia, they're not allowed to have the satellites. There's only one government satellite allowed in Malaysia. If you're found with a satellite that is picking up Christian programming, you could put one in, but if you're caught with it, very serious fines or imprisonment. But it's not so much so in Singapore and Taiwan. They can get it on satellite. Internet's very fast, very modern cities. So we ran into a lot of people. Please advance. We ran into a lot of people there that were watching our programs. I spoke 14 times in 14 days. That means some days were travel, so some days we doubled up the speaking and teaching. We were teaching AFCO students. We were speaking to Christian businessmen. We were doing evangelism training and an evangelistic meeting. We did an evangelistic meeting in Singapore, kind of an abbreviated meeting. We met in the Thompson Chinese Church. It's called the Thompson because it's on Thompson Road, but it's a Chinese church. But Singapore, they speak English. It used to be an English colony, so except for Sabbath morning, there was no translation. They all understood me, which was always nice, saves time. Next picture had hundreds of people. Church was full, and this was one of the evening meetings, Sabbath morning and Friday night. They had overflow rooms downstairs that were full, and heard some wonderful stories. Next picture I might have, here's some of the people. I think there were about 6 baptisms. 2 of the people in this baptism came to the Lord from Amazing Facts. One learned about the Lord in China, and then they got from China to Singapore, and we heard the story. But they were reading our material, looking at the websites in China. Then they led their fiancé to the Lord, and I baptized the fiancé. The girlfriend's not in the picture. Heard another story. Go to the next picture. I don't know if I put them up. This is one young man named Matthew. We got to the airport, and Singapore airport is people actually go to Singapore to look at the airport. It is considered the most beautiful airport in the world. Not one of, it is the most beautiful airport in the world. They have rainforests. They've got the tallest man-made waterfall. The monorail goes through the airport. It's just amazing. So they took us to the airport early so that we could look at the airport. I've never gone to an airport to look at the airport. And I usually want to get out of there when I get to the airport. But it really was beautiful. And we finally go to the immigration. Everybody must funnel through these one doors when you leave the country. And there had been a young man there named Matthew, been waiting for us for 2 hours just so he could say thank you. He had been raised a Christian, drifted from the Lord, was lost, and he ran into some Amazing Facts material. In fact, I think it was the Amazing Facts Final Events DVD got him back watching material again, studied his way back into the faith, and now he's solid in the Lord. He just wanted to thank us, and he waited 2 hours. We thought that was so nice. Met another, well, here's a neat story. Couple in the Philippines, raised Catholics. This will be my last story. We'll get to the lesson. Don't worry about the lesson, it's just the introduction today. And so this couple was very devout Catholics, and they just weren't happy. They were going to church, and they said, we went through the rituals, we made our donation, we left, we just felt empty. They thought, isn't there more to God than this? So they're just searching. Very honest, hardworking couple, young professionals. They ended up then going to some evangelical churches, and they all taught different things. And finally, they got on their knees and said, Lord, what is the truth? Show us the truth. And after this, they ran into the Amazing Facts material. They started searching for preaching online. They ran into our material online. And they said, this makes sense. And they kept watching and listening and watching, and then they started just binge watching, went through all of our beliefs. But they said they watched for a year and a half. They never heard that we were Seventh-day Adventists. I guess I need to mention that more often. And then finally, I said something. They said, oh. So by this point, they're living in Singapore. And so they said, let's go check out one of these Adventist churches. And so they were so afraid. They went in and thought, what are they like, And they didn't want to tell anyone they were visitors. They wanted to first check everybody out. But after the second or third week there, the pastor, and their names were Arlen, Cherry, husband and wife, and the pastor was Pastor Egan. They went to the Filipino church in Singapore. He spotted them as visitors, and they said, well, we're kind of interested. They started studying together, and I had a chance to meet them. He baptized them, and he said, I didn't have to study much with them because they knew it all from just watching online. And now they're leading a whole other group in the church. So we just saw, in their life, we saw the whole story of people who studied their way in, they came in, they got baptized, they got grounded, and now they're out doing evangelism work. So it was really exciting for us. I'm just sharing with you a few stories of things that were happening there. And so it was a thrill to be there, and thank you. I can promise you we're seeing lots of people come to the Lord through the public evangelism and even the ministry of Amazing Facts. All right, so in our study today, our lesson title is talking about making sense, speaking of making sense out of the history of Zerubbabel and Ezra.